The Arizona sun blazed mercilessly over Copper Creek as Ayanna pressed her back against Henderson's general store, emerald eyes scanning the dusty street with practiced wariness. At 22, she possessed striking beauty, high Apache cheekbones paired with auburn hair and green eyes from her Irish father. But in 1880s, Arizona, being caught between two worlds, meant belonging to neither. "There she is again," Mrs. Eleanor Whitman muttered loudly. "Bold as brass, that savage. Someone ought to remind her she's not welcome here." Ayanna's jaw tightened, but she remained motionless. She'd come for supplies, salt, coffee, ammunition, necessities for survival in her cabin 15 miles south. The harsh desert provided shelter, but not everything she needed to live. Sheriff Buck Morrison emerged from the store, star glinting. A big man with graying whiskers, he nodded curtly, acknowledgement without acceptance. "Sheriff," Ayanna said quietly, her educated accent unsettling many townspeople. Her father had insisted she learn to read and write, believing education would shield her from the world's cruelty. As afternoon wore on with familiar rhythms of careful avoidance, trouble found her. Jake Murdoch and his companions, Cole and Rafferty, blocked her path. Local ranchers' sons with too much time and whiskey-fueled entitlement. "Well, look what crawled out of the desert," Jake sneered. At 25, he was cruel-smiled and broad-shouldered. "Thought we told you to stay away from decent folk." "I'm not causing trouble, Jake. Just getting supplies." "Supplies?" Cole laughed harshly. "What's an Indian need with civilized goods? Can't your people make do with dirt?" "I'm not bothering anyone," Ayanna repeated, trying to step around them. But Rafferty moved to block her hand on his knife. "Your very presence bothers us," Jake continued loudly, drawing onlookers. "This is a town for decent, God-fearing people, not for whatever you are." "My money's as good as anyone's," Ayanna said steadily, despite inner trembling. "Your money?" Jake's eyes glittered maliciously. "Where does a squaw get silver? Been stealing from honest folks?" "I earn my way honestly." "Honestly?" Rafferty joined in. "What honest work can a half-breed do?" "Heard there's miners up in hills who ain't seen a woman in months. That your honest work?" The vile implication hung like smoke. Ayanna felt familiar humiliation burn her chest. This was always how it went. They'd push until she fled or fought back, either response proving her savage nature. "That's enough." The voice cut through tension like a blade. Every head turned toward a man on a dust-covered buckskin horse, tall, lean, weathered by years under open sky. Dark hair touched with gray-blue eyes, holding steady intelligence that suggested he wasn't to be trifled with. "You boys got nothing better to do than harass a lady?" the stranger asked conversationally, but with dangerous edge. "Ain't no lady," Jake protested with less bravado. "Just a breed who don't know her place." The stranger's stillness made air electric with potential violence. "I'm thinking you're the one who doesn't know his place, son. Where I come from, men don't gang up on women." "Thomas Mackenzie," the stranger said, dismounting fluidly. Well over 6 feet, moving with confident ease. "I run cattle on the North Range. Reckon that makes this my business, too." Hope flickered in Ayanna's chest. The Mackenzie name was known. Tom Mackenzie had a reputation as fair dealer and dangerous enemy. "Seems to me this lady was conducting business peacefully until you boys made trouble," Mackenzie continued calmly. "I'm suggesting you find somewhere else to be." "Or what?" Jake demanded, voice cracking. Mackenzie smiled coldly. "Or I'll show you the difference between a man and a bully." Jake's hand moved toward his gun. Ayanna couldn't bear watching another good man die because of her. "Please," she stepped between them. "I'll go, I don't want trouble." Mackenzie's gaze shifted to her, surprisingly gentle. You shouldn't have to go, miss. You've got as much right to be here as anyone. Listen to the breed, Jake said, emboldened. She knows where she belongs. Actually, Mackenzie said, voice carrying clearly, she belongs with me. Shocked silence rippled through watching crowd. Ayanna stared, certain she'd misheard. What? Jake paled. Mackenzie reached into his shirt pocket, extracting a folded paper with official seal. Marriage certificate filed in Tucson 3 months ago. This is my wife. The audacious lie stunned everyone speechless. Ayanna understood this stranger was offering something she'd never dared hope for: protection, legitimacy, belonging. That's impossible, Mrs. Whitman sputtered. Tom Mackenzie wouldn't marry a what? Mackenzie's voice carried new menace. Seems like you were about to say something unkind about my wife, Eleanor. I'd be careful finishing that thought. Sheriff Morrison pushed through crowd. Tom, that true? You married this girl? Mackenzie's arm slipped around Ayanna's waist. She fought every instinct to pull away from his gentle but possessive touch. Buck, you know me to be truthful, Mackenzie said. Ayanna's been living on my ranch, helping with horses. Woman's got natural gift with animals. Apache blood makes her valuable to a cattleman. Brilliantly done, Ayanna realized. He was giving them a way to accept her, not as equal, but as Mackenzie's property. It stung, but it was survival. Any man with problems about my choice in wives, Mackenzie said, gaze sweeping Jake and friends, is welcome to discuss it with me, privately. The crowd dispersed. Understanding entertainment was over. Jake and companions slunk away, their power dissolving against Mackenzie's calm authority. Only then did Mackenzie release her, and she missed his solid warmth. Why? She asked quietly. Mackenzie looked down at her with something unidentifiable. Loneliness, perhaps, or recognition of kindred spirit. Because everyone deserves to belong somewhere. The Mackenzie Ranch spread across vast valley 20 miles north, where desert gave way to rolling grassland. As they crested the final hill, Ayanna caught her breath. Stone and timber house, 2 stories with wraparound porch. Outbuildings spread orderly, barn, corrals, bunkhouse. Cattle grazed peacefully. Built it from nothing over 15 years, Mackenzie said with quiet pride. Lost my first wife to pneumonia the winter after we broke ground. His mention of Sarah sent unexpected pang through Ayanna's chest. Of course he'd been married. A man like Tom Mackenzie wouldn't remain bachelor by choice. I'm sorry for your loss. Sarah was a good woman. Would have liked you, I think. She couldn't stand seeing someone treated unfairly. Ranch hands emerged from barn, staring curiously at their approach. Ayanna straightened in the saddle, her few possessions seeming pitifully inadequate. Boys, I'd like you to meet my wife, Ayanna, Mackenzie announced. She'll be living here now. Complete silence. Cookie, the grizzled foreman, mouth fell open. Other hands stared as if Mackenzie had announced marrying a mountain lion. Wife! Cookie finally managed. Boss, you didn't say nothing about getting married. Man's entitled to privacy, Mackenzie replied calmly. Cookie Billy, Joaquin read, show Mrs. Mackenzie proper respect. The name hit Ayanna like physical force. She'd never been anyone's wife, never expected to be. The identity felt foreign but strangely appealing. Inside, the house was even more impressive. Spacious rooms, comfortable furniture, windows letting in light. A woman's touch had once made this home, though time had faded personal details. Sarah decorated most of it, Mackenzie said. If you want changes, you're welcome. Ayanna touched a well-crafted rocking chair, imagining the woman who'd sat here evenings. It's perfect. I wouldn't disturb her memory. Something in Mackenzie's expression softened. You're kind, Ayanna O'Brien. This arrangement might work better than expected. O'Brien Mackenzie, she corrected quietly. If we're maintaining this fiction, I should use your name. It's not fiction, he said seriously. I meant what I said. You're my wife, with all rights and protections that brings. And if you want to make it real, legal, and proper, I'm willing." The offer hung between them, loaded with implications. "Why would you do that? You don't know me. Are you a thief or murderer?" "No, but then that's all I need to know." Mackenzie moved to window, looking over his land. "I'm 43, Ayana, lost the only woman I ever loved, built successful ranch, and found myself wondering what the point was if I'd face the rest alone. You need protection and belonging. I need someone to share this with. And if I can't be the wife you want," he turned back, understanding in his eyes, "we'll figure it out. No pressure, no expectations beyond human decency. You'll have your own room, space. What happens between us happens because we both want it." The generosity was overwhelming. In a world where women like her had few choices, he was giving her agency, respect, time. That evening, as ranch hands gathered for supper, 3 mares in East Pasture showed signs of founder, hoof inflammation that could permanently lame them. "I'll come," Ayana said when Mackenzie prepared to ride out. "I know about treating founder." Cookie looked skeptical. "Ma'am, this is serious business." "Which is why you need someone who knows what they're doing," she replied steadily. "My father was horse trader. I've treated founder successfully." Mackenzie studied her, then nodded. "You're taking charge of treatment. I won't have anyone second-guessing." At the pasture, Ayana quickly assessed the suffering animals. "Cold water therapy," she directed. "Hot applications increase inflammation. Cold constricts blood vessels, reduces swelling." She spent 2 hours directing treatment, showing proper techniques, adjusting feed. Her knowledge was comprehensive, gained from years of observation and experience. "I'll be damned," Cookie muttered as they headed back, mares showing marked improvement. "Where'd you learn all that?" "My father believed knowledge was the only thing no one could take away." "Smart man," Mackenzie said approvingly. "Good thing too, or we might have lost Lady, one of our best breeding mares." As they unsaddled horses, Cookie approached gruffly. "Ma'am, I owe you apology. Shouldn't have doubted your word." "No apology necessary, Charlie. You were protecting the animals. I respect that." "Well, I reckon we make good team. You know horses, I know cattle." First real acceptance, and Ayana felt warm satisfaction. She was earning her place through competence rather than charity. Later, sitting on porch in cool night air, Mackenzie joined her with coffee. "Good work tonight. You handled Cookie perfectly, showed respect while standing ground." "He's good man. Just needed to see I wouldn't be burden." "Tom," she said quietly, using his given name first time. "What you did today, I'll find way to repay you. You don't owe me anything. Marriage is supposed to be partnership, even one starting unconventionally as ours." Under star-filled sky, Ayana contemplated strange turns her life had taken. This morning she'd been lonely outcast. Tonight she was mistress of successful ranch, married to man who treated her with kindness. It felt too good to be real, which meant she needed to prepare for when reality reasserted itself. But for now, sitting beside Tom Mackenzie under vast Arizona sky, she allowed herself to imagine what it might be like if this unexpected gift could last. 3 weeks into ranch life, Ayana had found surprising rhythm. Dawn preparation of meals, morning household accounts, afternoons with horses, the part bringing most joy. Her relationship with Tom had settled into a comfortable pattern of respect and growing friendship. Evening conversations revealed him intelligent, well-read, with dry humor and deep love for his land. This particular morning brought trouble via Sheriff Morrison, arriving as Hans finished breakfast. "Buck," Tom greeted him. "Early for social call." "Ain't social, Tom. Got word from Tucson. Federal marshals coming, asking questions about Apache raiders' hidden supply wagons." Ayana's blood chilled. Whenever trouble involved Native Americans, suspicion fell on anyone with Indian blood, regardless of involvement. "What's that got to do with me?" Tom asked, neutrally. Word's gotten around about your situation. Some folks saying you might be harboring information given your wife's background. Her background? Tom's tone turned dangerous. Jake Murdoch's spreading talk that maybe your wife's got connections to raiders, passing information about wagon schedules. Ayanna stepped onto porch. Sheriff Morrison, I've had no contact with any Apache band since my mother's death 10 years ago. Anyone in town can verify that. Morrison looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, I ain't saying I believe it, but Federal Marshal wants to ask questions. Might be best if you made yourself available. When? Day after tomorrow. After Morrison left, Ayanna paced kitchen like caged animal. They'll find way to blame me. Even if Marshall believes I'm innocent, suspicion will always be there. Let them say what they want, Tom replied firmly. It doesn't matter what I've done. She turned to face him. Only what people believe. And they'll always believe someone like me is more likely to be disloyal. You should send me away before Marshall arrives. Say I ran off, that you discovered I was deceiving you. It would protect your reputation. Tom crossed kitchen quickly, grasping her shoulders. I'm not sending you anywhere. We'll face this together. You don't understand. They'll destroy you to get to me, everything you've built. Then they'll destroy it. I won't abandon you, Ayanna. Not now, not ever. Why? She whispered. Why sacrifice so much for someone you barely know? Tom's hands moved to cup her face gently. Because these past weeks I've come to know you. I've seen your kindness with horses, patience with Billy, skill managing the household. I've watched you win over Cookie through competence and decency. His voice grew softer. But mostly, I'm willing to fight for you because somewhere along the way this stopped being just convenience marriage, at least for me. The admission changed everything. Ayanna searched his face, seeing truth and something deeper that made her heart race. Tom, she whispered, and then his lips were on hers, gentle at first, then with growing intensity as she responded. Her first real kiss, and the careful passion was everything she'd never dared hope for. When they broke apart, she rested forehead against his chest. I was so afraid of this. Of what? Of caring too much, having something to lose. And now, she looked up, seeing her emotions reflected in his eyes. Now I'm terrified. But I care anyway. Sound of approaching horses interrupted, multiple riders moving fast. Tom stepped protectively in front of Ayanna as they moved to window. Jake Murdoch and his boys plus half-dozen I don't recognize. The group swept into ranch yard like storm, horses foam-flecked, faces hard. Jake dismounted aggressively, hand on gun. Mackenzie, we need to talk. Tom stepped onto porch, own hand hovering near weapon. State your business, Jake. Our business is that Apache witch you're harboring. Another wagon got hit this morning, 3 men dead. Witnesses saw woman with raiders, half-breed with long black hair. Ayanna's heart sank. Even if description fit dozen women, she knew who'd be blamed. That's serious accusation, Tom said calmly. You got proof? One of unknown men stepped forward, tall, lean, professional gunfighter look. What more proof you need? Wagons getting hit ever since she showed up, now witnesses placing breed woman at scene. Funny thing about witnesses, Tom replied. They often see what they expect, especially when there's money involved. Who's paying you boys? Nobody's paying us. We're concerned citizens looking out for territory safety. I was here all morning, Ayanna said quietly, stepping beside Tom. Maria and Rosa can confirm it, along with half your hands. Like anyone's gonna believe Mexican testimony, Jake sneered, or word of men working for Breed Lover. The insult hit Tom like physical blow. Ayanna felt him tense, preparing for violence. The thought of bloodshed because of her was unbearable. There's a simple way to resolve this, she said clearly. Send for Sheriff Morrison. Let him investigate properly. Morrison's in Murdoch's pocket, Gunfighter said. This is frontier justice. The only thing that's going to work, Tom said, deadly quiet, is you boys riding out before this gets ugly. Or what? Jake demanded. You gonna fight all of us to protect your Apache whore? Tom moved before words finished, covering distance in 3 strides, landing devastating right cross that sent Jake sprawling. Gunfighter's hand went to weapon but found himself looking down barrel of Tom's Colt .45. Anyone else got something to say about my wife? Tension stretched taut. 8 men facing one, but Tom's reputation and steady gun hand gave them pause. From bunkhouse, Cookie and Hands emerged, armed and ready. This ain't over, Mackenzie, Jake said, struggling up, wiping blood. That Marshall's gonna hear about this. I'm looking forward to speaking with Marshall, Tom replied. Might have interesting things to tell him about who's really stirring up trouble. Riders withdrew, but parting looks promised future violence. Boss, them boys'll be back, Cookie said grimly. Next time, better prepared. We'll be ready. Federal Marshal James Whitman arrived at noon, lean, weathered man in 50s with intelligent gray eyes and quiet authority of 20 years federal service. Unlike local troublemakers, he seemed interested in facts over gossip. Mrs. Mackenzie, Marshall began professionally, I understand there's been question about your potential connection to wagon raids. I'd like to hear your side. Ayanna had rehearsed this, but facing it was more intimidating than expected. Marshal Whitman, I've had no contact with Apache bands for 10 years, not since my mother's death. I can provide witnesses to verify my whereabouts during each attack. Your mother's people? What band? Chiricahua, but she left when she married my father, essentially exiled for choosing white man. That must have been difficult, Marshall observed sympathetically. It was. She taught me language, old ways, but made sure I understood I'd have to make my own path. Mr. Mackenzie, your assessment of your wife's character? My wife is most honorable person I've known, Tom replied without hesitation. She's worked tirelessly to build life here despite considerable prejudice. The idea she'd betray innocent people is not just wrong, it's insulting. I've spoken with people in Copper Creek, Marshall continued. Sheriff Morrison confirmed Mrs. Mackenzie has been familiar presence for years, always conducting herself appropriately. Hope flickered in Ayanna's chest, but she remained cautious. However, Marshall continued, and her heart sank, there are allegations by Jake Murdoch and others. Yesterday I received telegram from Tucson with troubling information. He withdrew folded paper. We captured one of raiders 2 days ago, young Apache warrior named Naalnish. Under questioning, he provided information I need to discuss with you. Ayanna felt blood drain from face. Naalnish, her cousin, her mother's sister's son. She hadn't seen him since 12 years old. He knows you, claims you're his cousin. Is that true? Yes, Ayanna whispered, but I haven't seen him in over 10 years. He says otherwise, claims you've been meeting secretly, providing information about wagon schedules. That's a lie, Tom said hotly, rising. My wife has been with me or under ranch supervision every day since our marriage. Mr. Mackenzie, please sit. I need to investigate thoroughly. Marshal, why would Naalnish lie about me? Ayanna found her voice. What would he gain by implicating someone who hasn't been part of his life for years? Excellent question, Marshall replied, studying her. What would he gain? Unless someone convinced him that implicating you would serve larger purpose. What do you mean? Consider this, young Apache warrior caught red-handed facing execution. Someone approaches him, tells him that implicating half-breed woman near Copper Creek might create confusion, misdirection to help his case. Understanding dawned on Tom's face. Someone's using him to frame Ayanna. It's possible. Question is, who would benefit from discrediting Mrs. Mackenzie and by extension you, Mr. Mackenzie? Sound of approaching riders interrupted. Jake Murdoch and hired guns rode into yard along with townspeople, including a well-dressed stranger. "Marshal Whitman, we need to talk." Tom rose, but Marshal gestured him to remain seated. "I'll handle this." Marshal stepped onto porch. "Mr. Murdoch, I presume?" "Then you know why we're here," Jake said loudly. "That Apache woman's been playing you for fool. We got proof she's working with raiders." "Proof? That's interesting. What kind?" The stranger stepped forward, well-dressed man with authority look. "Marshal, I'm Arthur Brennan, attorney for Territorial Mining Consortium. We've been tracking raid patterns. They've all targeted wagons carrying specific cargo from our operations. Someone with inside knowledge has been providing information." "And you believe Mrs. Mackenzie is that someone?" "We have circumstantial evidence," Brennan replied smoothly. "Her presence coincides with the raid beginning. Her Apache connections provide motive. And now we have captured Raider's confession." Yes, Nalnish," Marshal said thoughtfully. "Interesting that you know about his confession, Mr. Brennan. That information hasn't been made public." Brennan's confident expression faltered. "Well, we have sources in territorial government. Mining Consortium has significant interests to protect." "I'm sure you do. Tell me, how exactly would Mrs. Mackenzie obtain information about mining shipments? She's been living on this ranch tending domestic duties." "She could have accomplices," Jake interjected. "Maybe that husband's in on it too." "Mr. Mackenzie, you have connection to Territorial Mining Consortium?" "Matter of fact, I do," Tom replied, and Ayana's heart skipped. "They approached me 6 months ago about running cattle drives to supply mining camps. I turned them down." "You turned them down?" Brennan paled. "Why refuse lucrative contract?" "Because I didn't like the terms, specifically the clause giving your consortium access to water rights on my land. Seemed like you were more interested in my creek than my cattle." Marshall's expression grew very interested. "Water rights, valuable in this territory, valuable enough to kill for—" "Now see here," Brennan began, but Marshall cut him off. "Mr. Brennan, time you and I had private conversation. Mr. Murdoch, you and friends can disperse. This investigation is taking different direction than you expected." As crowd reluctantly broke up, Jake fixed Ayana with pure hatred. "This ain't finished. Marshal or no Marshal, you don't belong here." "Actually, Mr. Murdoch," Marshall said clearly, "threatening federal witness is serious crime. I'd suggest being careful about your next words." Jake's face flushed red, but he mounted without another word. After others left, Marshal Whitman returned, demeanor noticeably warmer. "Mrs. Mackenzie, I owe you apology. You've been caught up in something much larger than anyone realized." "I don't understand." "Territorial Mining Consortium has been having problems with Apache raids for months, but what they haven't advertised is that raids have been suspiciously well informed. Someone's been providing raiders with detailed information about shipments." "You think someone at mining company is involved?" Tom asked. "I think the mining company is involved. The raids have been convenient. They've used them to justify requests for increased federal protection, break contracts with suppliers demanding higher prices, and pressure local ranchers to sell water rights at below-market prices." Understanding dawned on Ayana's face. "They've been staging the raids?" "Some of them, yes. Working with small group of rogue Apache warriors who care more about profit than tribal loyalty. But when federal government started investigating, they needed scapegoat. And they chose me because I was convenient," Ayana said bitterly. "Apache heritage, no powerful connections, married to man who'd refuse their demands." "Exactly. They pressured Nalnish to implicate you, promising leniency for cooperation. They've been feeding information to Jake Murdoch, stirring up local sentiment." "How long has this been going on?" Tom's jaw clenched with barely controlled anger. "Months, at least. Good news is we now have evidence to bring charges against several consortium members. Bad news is damage to your reputation may take time to repair." What about Nalnish? That depends on how cooperative he's willing to be in exposing real criminals. He's young, probably more foolish than evil. If he helps build case against consortium, territorial government might consider reduced sentence. As afternoon wore on, Marshall took detailed statements from Tom and Ayanna, plus ranch hands who could verify Ayanna's whereabouts during raids. By evening, he seemed satisfied they'd been truthful. Investigation will continue several more weeks, but you're no longer considered suspects. Mrs. Mackenzie, I may need you to testify against consortium when this comes to trial. I'll do whatever's necessary to see justice done. After Marshall rode away, Tom and Ayanna found themselves alone on porch watching sunset over valley. The day had been emotionally exhausting but strangely liberating. It's over, she said quietly. The investigation, maybe, but not the prejudice. Not people like Jake Murdoch who will never accept you. I know, but somehow that doesn't seem as frightening as this morning. Tom turned to look at her, seeing something new. Confidence, belonging that hadn't been there before. What changed? You, she said simply. This morning I was still thinking like someone who had to face the world alone, but I'm not alone anymore, am I? Number. You're not alone. Tom, this morning, before Marshall arrived, what you said about this being more than convenience marriage. I meant every word. She turned to face him fully. I love you. I didn't expect it, didn't think it was possible, but I do. I love you, and I want this to be real. All of it. His kiss was his answer, tender and passionate and full of promise. When they broke apart, he rested forehead against hers. I love you too. More than I thought possible after losing Sarah. You've brought life back to this place, back to me. What happens now? Now we build life together. A real marriage, real future. It won't always be easy. There will still be people who disapprove, challenges to face, but we'll face them together. As darkness settled over valley, bringing cool evening relief, Tom and Ayanna sat together planning their future. Morning would bring new challenges, new opportunities to prove that love could overcome prejudice, that belonging was something you created rather than something granted. But for tonight, under vast Arizona sky filled with stars, they had each other, and that was enough. Ayanna Mackenzie stood in the same spot, watching her husband work with a young colt in the corral. Her hand rested on her gently rounded belly, where their first child was growing. The Territorial Mining Consortium had been disbanded, its leaders imprisoned or fled, and the Apache raids had ceased. Jake Murdoch had left the territory entirely after his connection to the conspiracy was exposed. Cookie emerged from the house carrying coffee and wearing the indulgent expression he reserved for his beloved employer's wife. Mail came from town, he said, handing her an envelope. Looks official. The letter was from the territorial governor, formally requesting that she serve as cultural liaison between territorial government and Apache tribes, helping negotiate peaceful resolutions to land disputes. The kind of position that would have been unthinkable for someone like her just a year ago. Good news? Tom asked, approaching after finishing with the colt. An opportunity, she replied, showing him the letter. What do you think? I think you'd be perfect for the job, and I think our child is going to grow up in a world where anything is possible. As the sun set over the Mackenzie Ranch, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Ayanna reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. She had been called savage and chased from town, but she had found something more valuable than acceptance. She had found love, purpose, and a place where she truly belonged. The future stretched ahead of them, full of promise and possibility, and for the first time in her life, Ayanna Mackenzie was eager to see what it would bring. In a world that had tried to make her choose between her two heritages, she had instead forged a third path, one where love transcended bloodlines, where courage could overcome prejudice, and where belonging was not something you were born into, but something you fought for and earned. She was no longer the outcast girl hiding in shadows. She was Ayanna Mackenzie, wife, healer, peacemaker, and soon-to-be mother, and she was exactly where she belonged.